adding or subtracting algebraic fractions is to write the sum or the differences of algebraic fractions as a single fraction which is equal to the sum or the difference. For instance, let's say 1 over x plus x plus 1, 2 plus x. Equals to x times x plus 1 x plus 1 plus 2x plus x squared. Now, the sum or difference of fractions, algebraic fractions, appear in in engineering, in solving problems in engineering, physics, mathematics, or in deriving some formulas or whatever. But for instance, suppose this sum is some quantity in physics or in chemistry or whatever. It's some quantity. Okay? And x represents the time. So, if you want to find the value of that quantity at any time, you just substitute the value of that time into x. That's it. For instance, if you want to find the value of the quantity at time 10 or 10 seconds later, you just substitute 10 into x. 10 plus 2 plus 10, 12, 11. And that would be the value of this quantity. But it is just fine the way it is written right now, and we don't need to write it, or we don't need to add it and write it as the single fraction. But sometimes we do need to write it as a single fraction. Sometimes we need to add it. So, here I talk about the cases in which we need to do it. The first case is solving equations. I talked about it before a little, but let's just have it here also. For instance, suppose you need to solve such equation: x plus 2, x squared minus x plus 1 plus 2x squared over x plus x cubed equals to 1 over x minus 1 over x. Okay? How should we solve it, first we add both sides by 1 plus 1 over x plus 1 over x makes it 0 in order to make one side 0. Okay, this is 0 and this is 1 plus x. Okay, now we should add these three fractions, and whatever the result will be, some polynomials would be here and some here. This is 0 and a fraction. We got a fraction here which is equals to 0, so the denominator should be 0. And we find the roots of the denominator polynomial. This is one reason of why we need to do the adding. Another reason is, and again, one case in which we need to solve equations, such equations, is finding the maximum or minimum value of our expression. For instance, suppose you need to find the maximum or minimum value of this x2 minus x plus whatever x cubed over x to the power of 4 plus 3 x cubed. So, as I talked about it before, you should first differentiate it, and the maximum or minimum values could occur at the values of x, which makes this after differentiation 0. So, not this, it's differentiation. It is after differentiation. Okay. Another case in which we need to add or subtract algebraic fractions is solving inequations. Like, say, you're supposed to find the values of x for which this or this be greater than x plus 1 over x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1. So, how would you solve it? Find the values of x. Again, you should subtract both sides by this, so the right side would be 0, becomes 0. So, we're gonna have minus over minus 1. So, we should find the values of x which makes the thing positive or greater than 0. And here we should subtract these two and write it as a single fraction, we would have some polynomial as in the denominator and some as denominator. Then, as I talked about before, we should factor the numerator and the denominator, and using the sign determination table, we should determine the values of x which makes this positive. Okay,